David, good afternoon. Uh, Great to chat to you again. I'm intrigued about what you sent me from this network event that you attended and the information. Just tell me again, can you, just in terms of what it was and how many people were there?
Yeah, sure. I've been running a series of events that talk about the connection of strategy to delivery, and this greatly interested the Association for Project Management's Governance Interest Network. As an event in back in the summer, we discovered that there wasn't really a body that was properly looking after the connection of strategy to delivery. So we invited people along. 750 registered, 350 attended, and they were kind enough to listen to some questions we asked. We asked 5 questions about their perception of strategy to delivery, and we got over 100 responses from each question. And the first question of which was, does your organization have a clear connection of purpose to vision to strategy? And when we got the answers and did some analysis, I thought I'd share them with you straight away and see what you
No,
thought.
thank you. It was quite fascinating. On the screen is, you know how I like to make sure I make sense of things and to understand and interpret it. So this was how I interpreted the results of those questions. And you can see I've done some color coding, nice simple color coding. So there was in the green were those people, what, 16%, 16 out of 100, who had some sort of, their organizations had some sort of strategy, or they were developing it, or they were working at improving it. So, those people are hopefully okay with the strategy and how they're executing it. Interestingly enough, was the ones in red with no clear strategy, lack of clarity, or the strategy was outdated or ineffective. So I grouped those together because essentially they they are struggling in order to develop and to articulate or to gain a strategy that's meaningful in their organization. So there's a big issue there about how they're approaching strategy and what to do with it. The areas in blue were also quite fascinating. So you've got there the big area, 26%, strategy developed but not well communicated or understood. And the others there, multiple or conflicting strategies, where they've maybe broken them down into different divisions and they're not quite certain where they all fit in. 8% were the challenges in cascading accountability. Is that they don't know their role, exactly what they're doing or who's in charge of it. And then you've got a small percentage where they're not really implementing it because they're distracted by financial difficulties or operational priorities. So that was my sort of assessment about it. But I think there were some sort of comments that maybe helped to illustrate that you got from the responses.
Yeah, we can when you're going through the responses, some of the answers were clear yeses or straightforward no's. So we can't really deduce too much from that.
Mm.
And some of the responses were quite complicated and didn't fall into a simple category. But with respect to that, the clear strategy, there were people saying things like there is a strategy, but it's not clearly communicated or clear on how colleagues get involved. So the strategy there, but not communicated. Other things, cryptic remarks from people saying that it was clearish, questioning whether it was accessible and understandable question mark. So there were some remarks like that.
Mm.
Other remarks around the efforts to improve, it sounded like a number of organizations were in the process of developing strategy, like they didn't have a strategy at the moment and needed to go ahead and develop one as opposed to be in the middle of maintaining something they already had. Um, Others saying things like a clear strategy, just straightforwardly, it does not exist. Or strategy exists, or it's outdated and not reviewed. Those sort of remarks coming up. Do these resonate with you? Do you recognize those?
I do, and it's quite fascinating that people were open enough and honest enough to reflect back on some of the challenges. And they're not uncommon, particularly the bit about people not understanding the strategy or their role in the strategy. However much you think at senior level that they've defined it, articulated it, it's meaningless unless you can actually, the rest of the organization can gear up and align and understand their role in how to take that forward and to deliver it. And in fact, there were, in many ways, from this and reinforced by those comments, there were a couple of things that struck me as being really so important about strategy in organizations and how you develop it. And just to preface that, so much focus in strategy is taken on the formulation, the analysis, the developing of a document, etc. But that's not even half of it. That's just the tip of an iceberg, and what lies beneath is so important. And the two things that struck me as being really, really important is the need for an integrated approach across the organization about that strategy, about the understanding of it, about the engagement and how people can deal with it. And then secondly, and it reflects back on some people saying that, you know, some of the challenges about being able to do strategy or about cascading the accountability, etc. It's the importance of organizations developing the capabilities for that dynamic, integrated approach to strategy. So it's the capabilities to do that, whether that's the systems or the communications or the governance, which I know is where you come in strongly. It's so important to have that whole organization approach and that ongoing approach to strategy within the organization, not just the front end bit.
Yeah, I mean the front end bit. We're all got, a lot of us are surrounded by really clever people who can understand our environment, understand our capabilities, and come up with a way forward. But chatting with somebody only this morning that was seeing strategies developed that hadn't really understood the resource or the capability requirements from the organization, yet alone the operational and management impact of delivering that strategy. So yeah, there's lots of things popping out of these triggers. And the further questions in the series go into that cascading element quite a bit, and the lack of lack of systematic capability to drive that through and through the organization, and to blend in the innovation that comes from people meeting challenges within the business.
Yeah, and you know, it's very interesting reflecting back on people's openness with these comments as well, because actually, although there's a lot of, you know, similarities, if you like, in some of the areas of concern, every organization is different. You know, every organization has its own dynamics, its own current situation, and it strikes me that the most important thing that people can do, recognizing some of these issues, is to begin a conversation in their organization about how to deal with it, how to take it forward, how to improve, how to build those capabilities, how to adopt that integrated approach. So strategy becomes, if you like, a dynamic, ongoing part and an integral part of the whole operation, not just something that's done either by a select group or something that's done once every 3 years. You know, it's part of that ongoing, flowing conversations in the organization with references back and linked in. And I guess that's where, if you think about where we both want to help organizations, it's in helping to build those capabilities, build those abilities to get that integrated flow as well. And all this does is show just how important it is, and how important it is for those conversations to start within the organization so they can build it.
Yeah. Why can't organizations have a conversation about their organization amongst themselves and understand whether any of this applies to them? It's makes sense to me to have start those conversations internally and see where they go.
Yeah. David, thank you very much for sharing that with me. It was quite fascinating. I did enjoy trying to piece together from those what you sent me in terms of those responses and try and make sense of some of these areas and how to tackle it. And
So a lot of
yeah,
data, wasn't it? A lot of data.
there's a lot of data. It's invaluable, but the important thing is people are recognizing it.
Yeah.
And if we can help to get those conversations started,
Yeah.
then and they can help in that their organization as well, then there's the opportunity to improve and to develop that integrated approach and those capabilities to do strategy better in the organization.
Fully agree. Thanks, David. I'll be in touch and maybe we'll speak about the next topic soon.
Indeed, David, thanks so much indeed. Love the conversation. Cheers and bye.